Hi there, everybody, and welcome to this quick transfer update right here on the Toon Review YouTube channel. My name's Paul. Thank you very, very much for joining me for this video. Before we start, if you do enjoy the video, as usual, please do give it the thumbs up. Very important that we keep the likes coming in on the channel. And of course, if you're new and you like what you see, please do subscribe. It is free to do so. Be part of an incredible community that is growing every day. And don't forget to hit the notification bell, which will also let you know when we schedule our live shows or we upload any videos such as this one. Now, it's been very interesting today. Various different transfer news coming out of Newcastle, or coming out of the media anyway, not so much Newcastle United, involving Dominic Solanke. There's news on Bruno as well. There's all sorts of rumours going around about Bruno. And also, a player that's out on loan in the shape of Ryan Fraser believes his career is over at Newcastle. No shit. But we'll come on to that later on. The first one I want to talk about is obviously Dominic Solanke. Now, Newcastle United have apparently made an approach for the Bournemouth striker. This was always in the reckoning, to be honest. It was always rumoured that Newcastle United were going to make a move for Solanke at some point. Eddie Howe is a massive fan of Solanke, and given the way he likes to bring in English players as well, this would be a no-brainer for Howe to bring him into Newcastle. Now, Solanke has had a varied career. He's got going, definitely. He's a late bloomer. Obviously, he struggled at some of the clubs he's been at. His goal-scoring record not exactly great. However, the last couple of years with Bournemouth, he has really started hitting the back of the net and looks a real player. So it was only really, for me, a matter of time before we were linked with him again, and as many media sources have reported today, that we've made an approach for him. Now, Bournemouth are expected to, or have already, rejected it because they don't want to lose Solanke in January. Now, that's obviously not to say that the move wouldn't happen in January if Newcastle went in with a different offer. Now, at the moment, a fee for Solanke, I'm not quite sure of. Some people were talking in the region of 28 million, etc. But look, we definitely need a striker, okay? And I think it's Newcastle hierarchy and management and coaches believe that we need a striker. Us as fans know for a fact we need a striker, and we need one in, because to rely on Isak and Wilson staying fit for the rest of the season is very naive, in my opinion. Extremely naive. So they've got to watch what they're doing with that, because if we don't sign another striker to cover for them too, I think we will struggle up front for the rest of the season. Yes, we've got Anthony Gordon who can play there, but is he really a striker? Not for me. I know he's played there for the England youth setup and things like that. Did so in the summer, of course, at the championships for England, but not at Premier League level for me. He's better elsewhere, and we need him elsewhere. Obviously, Joe Linton can play up front, but he hasn't exactly set the world alight playing in that position, has he? So for me, it's a necessity to sign a striker in January, whether that be on loan or whether it be a permanent deal. Now, Solanke is still young enough to sign a decent contract with his next club. He certainly proved himself. Like I said, he had a very slow start in his career. People were writing him off left, right, and centre, including ourselves. When he was linked with us, I think, a year or so ago, or 2 years ago, he was linked with us, and I'm thinking, no. He's not prolific enough. He can't do the job that we're probably going to ask him to do. However, there is a mixed response, I think, looking at social media and the way Newcastle fans are talking about Solanke. There is a little bit of a sort of 50-50 split for me as to whether we, us as fans want to bring him in or not. For me, I guess it all depends on the price. If we've gone in and made an approach and Bournemouth have, told us to go away, they're not selling them in January, then, for me, that's not the end of the story. How many times do we hear this when a move has started to be made by a certain club? Once they start to move to buy that player, it's very easy for that player's head to be turned. Now, no disrespect to Bournemouth at all. They've done wonderfully well over recent seasons, of course, with Eddie, and now they're doing well again in the Premier League this season. They've had some cracking results, but Newcastle United are, size-wise, a massive upgrade on Bournemouth. And especially where Newcastle United want to be as the seasons go on, with the new owners and the money that we're going to be ploughed into the club, etc. So there is options for Solanke himself. I mean, if Newcastle come knocking, I think Dominic Solanke as a player would find it very difficult to turn us down. But this one's got me puzzled because I think there's better strikers out there than Dominic Solanke that we could be going for. whether that be on loan for the rest of the season or as a permanent signing. Now, most of the media were presuming that we'd sort of go to Saudi and we'd bring in somebody for 6 months for the rest of the season. But as we've said on many of our shows, it's not easy to go to Saudi at the minute and pluck players out of their league because they're midway through the season. But we are seeing a lot of players who moved to Saudi now becoming very, very unsettled. We've had the Jordan Henderson situation. There is players who are out there who clearly aren't happy anymore. The attendances have badly dropped, and they need a revamp of what they're going to do in the Saudi League. But can Newcastle United persuade one of the teams to let one of their star players go for 6 months, given that their season is still going on? It's a very difficult situation, January, for any club. Because prices are always overinflated in January. We've seen that many, many times. But obviously when Newcastle come calling, it's a very different kettle of fish as well. We see ridiculous fees being banded around for players. But look, at the minute, there's nothing happening with Solanke. We just have to take it as is in the media reports that we've made an approach, but Bournemouth have indeed, rejected it, and they're not wanting to sell him this month. I've read many media outlets saying that they're not willing to sell in January. But we all know how it works, guys, with transfers and things like that. That we can be revoked a million times, but as the transfer window draws on, if Newcastle United were to offer Bournemouth that little bit more money, then things start to change. The owners of Bournemouth will say, can we really turn this money down now? Because it might not be, the situation might be very, very different come the summer. And that's what the Bournemouth owners and directors, etc., have to look at as well. Because financially, it could be a massive, massive influx of money for a club like Bournemouth, who, the average they don't have a very big stadium. The revenue won't be that great. So to get the kind of money that they'd probably get for Solanke would be massive for them. So they've got to decide now if they want to, sell Solanke or not. That's if Newcastle decide, right, we've made an approach, but have they actually, discussed transfer fees with Bournemouth? If Bournemouth have pushed back and said, we don't know what price or anything like that, Newcastle could go in with a certain amount and keep doing it throughout the next few days. But it's an interesting one. I'm not 100% sold on Solanke, if I'm honest. I think there's better strikers out there. But let me know in the comments what you think. Would you be happy if Newcastle brings Solanke in? Or do you think it's another one of these sort of Eddie Howe favourites that really wouldn't excite you as a striker coming in? Let me know in the comments below. Moving on to Bruno. Now, obviously, there's a lot of chat about Bruno and this release clause he's got, etc., etc. There's a lot of chat going on in the media today regarding Liverpool showing an interest, of course, PSG showing an interest, and Real Madrid, the usual suspects really getting named as potential buyers of Bruno. I'd be extremely angry and disappointed if the club let Bruno go in January. I really would. And I think the majority of Newcastle fans would. Listen, will Bruno eventually move on if he keeps on playing as well as he is? Absolutely will. There is going to be one of the giants come calling. We just have to accept that as Newcastle fans, that we're not at that point yet where we can hang on to our big stars because we're an elite club. We're not there yet. We're getting there. And, the path has been set out to get there. But the problem is, Bruno wants to win things. There's no doubt about that. And, a player like Bruno, one of our star assets, he isn't going to sit around for season upon season, waiting for slow progress. These players want to be in cup finals. They want to win medals. They want to win things. They're highly driven. And Bruno is one of those. He is very, very highly driven. But what I would say is Bruno absolutely loves it at Newcastle. His family love it here. He's very settled. He said in an interview very, very recently, that he's really happy here. There's no indication from the players' side that there's any reason to move, that he wants to move or anything like that. There's nothing at all. It's all paper talk. But a lot of people say, well, there's no smoke without fire. Personally, I don't. This clause in his contract, I'm sure it doesn't start till the summer. So when the media are talking about, if they activate the clause, even if there was an activation clause this month, that's not to say that Bruno will jump ship. Bruno may just have a chat with the owners and things like that and say, look, I want to stay. Where are we going? What is the position of the club? What are we going to be doing in the summer, etc., etc.? And these things will always go on behind the scenes with your star players. And I'd be very, very angry and upset if we sold Bruno. There's no reason to sell him this month at all. But it all depends on, obviously, if that activation clause is able to be activated this month, or whether that kicks in the summer. But at the moment, it's just media links and it's media talk. But we have to get used to this, guys, as Newcastle fans. We have to get used to the fact that our players are going to be linked with clubs. The higher we grow, the more we will be involved in the elite teams, and certain players want to go and play somewhere else. And then we bring in more elite players as time goes on. It's a turnover of players, really, isn't it? To stay elite, you need that turnover of players. And many teams have done that already across Europe. So I don't want Bruno to go. I don't think any Newcastle fan would like to see Bruno go, no matter what kind of money we get in. I think we need him for certainly the rest of this season. But again, let me know what you think in the comments below. Right, finally, Ryan Fraser. He's done an interview at Southampton, and he's claimed that he doesn't see a way back at Newcastle United once his loan spell ends at Southampton. Now, I think any human could tell him that. There is no way Ryan Fraser is getting back anywhere near the Newcastle United squad, never mind the team. He has a complete wrong attitude to what Eddie Howe's philosophy is, or any good manager's philosophy is. Apparently he's done well at Southampton. He's kept his nose clean down there. However, we've seen how he's reacted at Bournemouth. We've seen how he's behaved at Newcastle. And listen, is he all that of a player where we want to be now? No, he's not. Ryan Fraser is not a name that slips off the tongue when you think of Newcastle United and winning things. He's not at that level. Ryan Fraser was brought in to do a job at a certain time. It didn't happen for him at Newcastle United at all. He couldn't get going. When he did play, he was very, very disappointing for me. Very rarely did I or many other Newcastle fans think he had any good games, really. I mean, he obviously had the odd couple where he stood out a bit, but for me, it's wasted potential with Ryan Fraser, because I think he had a lot of potential when he came to Newcastle, certainly to make a big name for himself. And his attitude wasn't right, and neither was his football for me. So when he says that he doesn't think he's got any hope of getting back in the Newcastle United setup, I think that's plainly obvious. Any kid could have told him that, the way things have gone on. Eddie Howe will not have him back. Not the disruption, why he was sent to train with the kids, etc. There's reasons for that, and obviously Eddie's not going to have him around to cause more disruption in that dressing room. Nowhere in hell. But there you go, guys. It's a very, very interesting one on Solanke. Let me know, because I'm a bit torn. I think there's better players out there for us than Dominic Solanke, to be honest. But let me know. I don't think Bournemouth will sell in the summer, in January anyway. Although money talks. If we go in with a bigger offer that Bournemouth simply can't turn down because of the size of their club, that's going to be interesting for me. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button before you leave the show. And of course, if you're new and you like what you see, please do hit the subscribe button. Completely free to do so. And don't forget to hit the bell, which will notify you when we schedule our live shows or we upload any recorded ones such as this. I'll be back tomorrow, which is Thursday at 11 o'clock with some news. Probably latest developments on the transfer side of things as well. And we also have at 7 p.m. the match preview for the big game against Manchester City at the weekend. So a lot to look forward to on the channel. Enjoy the rest of your night, folks. Take care.